We've had a very, very long wait for this Prix then, but we're finally here. The Formula E Monoposto Championship makes its final stop in Season 17. We are in London, round number 18 in the United Kingdom. And of course, we have had a very long season. This is the current driver's standings. Revo leads the way from Oscar Folstad, 23 points in that gap. Then you've got the second half with Sebastian Ocampo only in 12th. He's 3 points ahead of Milan. McLaren TGR are looking to win the Constructors' title today, but they've got to fight against Virgin Renault and Hyperdrive Racing here in London, United Kingdom. And here is the track that we'll be racing at. Only a handful of turns around here, 3 sectors as all tracks usually do. You start finish straight coming very close to the final turn. A little bit of elevation, not the most that we've seen on any of the tracks we've seen on the calendar. As we say again, 18 turns on the calendar, 2 attack mode activation points, with detection points actually pretty far away from where they actually are on the circuit. But of course, all good things have to come to an end. Season 17, we've approached that end, and it's been an absolutely magnificent season. Revo looks to try and run away with the World Constructors and Drivers' Championship, but Hyperdrive Racing need to build up that gap. And if Oscar Folstad is to win the championship here today, he must win with Revo finishing no higher than 9th. So let's head to the grid then. It's the London Prix. And here's the starting grid for today's brilliant race. UK Ball starts on pole for his home Prix, with the championship leader Revo in second. Then it's T. Gabo and Oscar Folstad, who's going to have an amazing start to try and win this championship. Bob Desarov is 5th from Camino and Sebastian Ocampo. Then it's his teammate Daf Sanchez, only 8th for him. Santino Milan in 9th with Akari Lopez, who has won a title here before. Iwad starts 11th with P. Sierra alongside Leo, quite a ways away from his teammate. Then it's Marcus Nelson, only 14th for the Season 9 champion. Jack Carter 15th. Then it's Michael Novikov and Lars Leclerc. Then it's Cosmos in 18th. Tommy 19th. Mielreich down in 20th for the App Sportsline man. And it's Anok Huey and Bastian Tan making up the back row. This has been a long time coming for this championship. 17 seasons, 17 races prior to this, the 18th round of the Formula E Monoposto Championship 17th season. UK Ball starts on pole from Revo in second. Revo has an open goal to win his second ever World Drivers' Championship. All he has to do is score points today effectively. Folstad must win to have a shot of winning the title, as now all 4, now we've got 5 lights on here in London, United Kingdom. And we go green for the final round in the Formula E Monoposto Championship. Great start from Jack Carter, making up one position off the start already, trying to get past P. Sierra up front. However, the top 3 pretty much remaining the same. Folstad has dropped down onto 6th position. Mielreich getting a 5-second time penalty. However, in that App Sportsline car, we look to Leo, who's fighting with his own teammate. As always here in London, it's always very hard to decipher whatever you can when it comes to gaining positions off the start, as we look to David Camno in that Braun GP number 88 car, looking back to Jack Carter on board with the Hyperdrive Racing man in Hyperdrive Racing's final start, and what other racetrack to have your final start at than the start of which your team is based in. London, United Kingdom is where Hyperdrive Racing is based in. So They are hoping for some brilliant results, but Revo has dropped to P3. Of course, he's on the alternate strategy, starting on the mediums compared to all the others starting on softs, as we can look to Daniel Bogdasarov, who's also gone ahead of Revo on this opening lap, coming through the final chicane then, final 3 turns of this 18-turn circuit. Iwald getting a 5-second time penalty, slamming into the side of Tommy, but it's UK Ball who leads his home E-Prix then, from T. Gabo and Daniel Bogdasarov. Revo having to hold off Falstad. Of course, Revo, he doesn't actually have to hold him up. All he has to do is finish in 8th or higher, and he will be champion, because Falstad is 23 points back. He cannot allow it to go to count back. He needs to win the championship outright. It can't be a tie, or else Revo would win the championship on count back, because he's got more wins than the Norwegian driver in the number 12. So, in other words, Falstad's hoping that Revo doesn't finish. But you've got this little fight for second place, inter-team battle going on between the 2 Virgin Racing drivers. Virgin Racing, another British team in this championship. In fact, out of the top 5, all of those drivers are driving for teams based in the United Kingdom. Gabo has dropped his teammate, so of course probably team orders going on down at Virgin Racing as they come through Stowe Turn and into the final 3 turns on this brilliant London E-Prix track, very close to the wall. You'll see a lot of drivers doing that yellows in the 3rd sector, and that's for Sebastiano Campo, who's hit the wall pretty hard. His teammate also in the barriers there, sliding with the side of Akari, and he's the one who's got a time penalty. So for Ocampo, it must have been just a simple mistake. He cold tires on the opening laps, but on lap 3 of 18, UK Ball is still leading the way, and we've got a replay of the race start. So underway they go, and yeah, you can see Carter going alongside Marcus Nelson to just get ahead before they even make it out of turn number 1. They are still alongside each other, and yeah, there's the time penalty for Milrez. Didn't quite see the collision that's triggered that 5-second time penalty. As we go back to live pictures, looking behind with Revo, trying to keep Oscar Falstad at bay from the Italian number 1 car, who hopes to become the 2nd ever double World Drivers' Champion. Many drivers have won their one and only, but only one man has ever gone on and done another. And to do that in consecutive seasons is something that none of the other drivers who have been champion can do. For example, next season. Of course, they can do it in season 20 if they are the reigning champions. And we've got virtual safety car to Clerk and Milrez, both out of the E-Prix. There in the background on that previous shot was the number 16 and 6 of Leclerc and Milrez, and that is how App Sportsline and Mercedes Formula E team, that is how at least one of their cars will end their tenure as Mercedes and App Sportsline, because App Sportsline will become Dragon Racing next season and Mercedes will become Volunteer. Virtual safety car ends then and we get back racing. So of course, we look still with Revo, who's trying to close in on Daniel Bogdasarov here. He's doing his absolute best to try and get as close to the back on that Virgin car. He's gone very deep over the curbs. He's going to be able to use attack mode. We're coming down the straight, coming into the 4th to last turn on the circuit. Turn number 14, Stowe turn. But he's not quite close enough to make any sort of inroads. UK ball coming through. 3rd to last, 2nd to last, and the last turns. And oh, into the wall goes Daniel Bogdasarov. Similar for Revo there. I think he ran over his front wing. No real damage to the Hyperdrive number 1 car. Falstad up to P4, but Bogdasarov has lost part of his front wing. He'll need to come into the pits at the end of this lap. We've still got yellow flags there for Tommy, who's gone off at the exact same turn. Must have run over the Virgin car's front wing. Cosmos, of course, after coming into the pits, dropping very far down the positions there. Tommy and Vastien Tan both in pit lane. As you can see now, Revo actually holding up a little bit of a train with Falstad and Bogdasarov. and those softs for the McLaren man not looking too good anymore. So on lap number 5 of 18, 13 laps to go, and it's looking very good for the hyperdrive man. Even with Volstad taking a look down the inside, it does look as if it's all coming into play for Revo as Volstad drops to P5. Still looking at this fight for third then, as we now look to U-Cable, the man leading this E-Prix, the man who's won his own E-Prix to win a title before. He's not in a title fight, and he's out of the race! U-Cable out of the London E-Prix from the lead of the race from pole position. He has led all 5 laps that he's been in this E-Prix for, but he is out of the race. Has gone the Braun Honda driver, and I think we might actually get an onboard replay. We do have that, as into the pits comes Volstad and Bogdasarov on board with U-Cable. Replay footage, not live. So coming through Stowe turn, he's gone very wide and into Club Corner. Yeah, he's just missed his braking point and gone in very deep, a little bit too deep there. So the virtual safety cars ended while we were showing the replays. Sebastian Ocampo fighting over 15th position with an Artcurie. They've gone alongside each other. They're going to jump up to 14th with Iwald and Marcus Nelson coming to pit lane on board with Tommy, the man currently 19th in this race. As we look to Revo, who is now leading this E3 with a little bit of damage to his tyres because the drivers ahead of him and behind him have both come in, but T. Gabo is actually very close to the back of the Hyperdrive number 1 car. So I think, at least for Revo's sake, a race win for him would be a little bit far-fetched. But of course, he doesn't need to win this race. All he needs to do to become champion is finish 8th. And that's it. He finishes 8th and he is champion. Volstad could win the race and kind of has to win the race. Volstad not winning the race means that he's not title winner, but that's very deep for Revo going through that chicane. I expect him. No, he comes in. I expected him to come into the pits, but now he's vulnerable to T. Gabo. Gabo has gone alongside and we're not showing that fight for the lead as T. Gabo has found his way up into first position. Sierra and Akari both come into pit lane. Dav Sanchez is trying to fight for position as well as Carter hits the side of Ocampo. Spinning is an Artcurie ahead. Leo with a time penalty. And there goes Cosmos and Iworld at the same turn. Both Mahindra drivers in the barriers. And more contact for Cosmos there. He gets another 5-second time penalty to make it 10. As an Artcurie, his teammate dropping down to last position. Marcus Nelson has made his way through the final few turns. And I expect an Artcurie, Yui has come into the pits with 11 laps left to run in this E3 here in London, United Kingdom. T. Gabo still leading this E3 and breaking away from Revo quite a bit. Of course, when you are trying to win a title, you must be a lot more relaxed if you don't actually have to fight for a win. Don't take any risks, and you should be able to win a title in your final race if the gap is surmountable, but is nearly insurmountable. Volstad, the number 4 car, is currently 4th, and Revo has come into the pits. And he's going to come out behind Oscar Volstad here. So Volstad going to be ahead on strategy with 10 laps left to run here in the United Kingdom. As there goes David Camino to go alongside and ahead. So Revo comes out of pit lane and he is 6th in this race. Novikov coming into pit lane as well on this lap. As we look now to the number 1 man. He's had quite a brilliant championship career up to this point. Before last season, as Marcus Nelson sets the fastest lap, he's been in a multitude of championship fights. But before last season, he couldn't win any of them. He became champion last season, and he's currently on track to be champion this season to take this championship's second ever double championship and a consecutive championship. DS Andretti, on the topic of consecutive championships, as we see Bogdasarov coming into Stowe turn, DS Andretti have, of course, taken 3 in a row, but they're not going to take a 4th on board with Oscar Folstad as Gabo goes halfway through the Prix, very close to the wall for the Norwegian number 12 man, who is still not where he needs to be to try and win his first ever championship in his debut season. Remember that. This is Oscar Folstad's debut season, and he is in the hunt for his first ever championship. This is something that Sebastian Ocampo did back in season 13, and the following season he became champion. I'm not saying that Oscar Folstad is going to become champion next season. I'm saying that it is statistically probable for him to become champion. However, it doesn't seem as if the title battle for this season is close enough for him to have a shot of winning the championship in his debut season. So of course that needs to roll on to next season. And for any rookie drivers that go over to Venturi or Sims Motorsport, brand new competitor coming into the championship, which we will see a lot more detail for in the preseason of season 18 when that drops. Although it is official that Sims Motorsport will not get a Formula G team, as on lap 10 of 18, Baltasar very close to the wall. Folstad coming out of that turn. As we look to Santino Milan on board with Revo, that's very close for the championship leader, who should have won the championship last time out. Had a very good shot of winning the championship last time out, but he did not win the championship last time out, simply due to the fact that he crashed out of the race. And Folstad was in a championship winning position as Tommy goes off. He hit the wall and he's lost off of his front wing. Into the pits comes Bastien Tan and Dav Sanchez, not Santino Milan, sorry. More yellows in the third sector, and that's for the other next EV Neo car, the number 12 of Michael Novikov. And yeah, that's kind of what he's got done for him. Michael Novikov drives the number 4. I was going to say, hang on a sec, I thought he drove the 12, but of course Folstad now drives the 4 in this championship. He drives the 12 in an equally good championship, the Monoposto Formula 1 World Championship, hosted by Sebastian Ocampo on his channel Dux, or Dutch. There's an X where there would be a U. I'll have the latest race linked in the description. As we go on to lap 11 of 18, very close to the walls. Well, for Folstad still, we go on board with Revo. The top 5 have not changed position. Revo has got the fastest lap. Just noting that for everyone who's wondering, that fastest lap still going to the reigning World Drivers' Champion, who is looking to become a double champion here today. And for Hyperdrive Racing, swan song season, a swan song race, in fact, as we look to Tommy coming into that final chicane, this would be a very good way to go out, to have the man who took your second ever Drivers' Championship, as Ocampo and Tommy both come into pit lane, to have that man take your second ever Drivers' Championship, win a third for your team, would be absolutely brilliant. As you can see, Revo, he's still got to fight today, isn't he? He comes through Cop's corner, and he's still alongside Santino Milan. He's trying to get ahead as they now come through Maggots and Beckett's. He's not going to get attack mode going into Stowe corner, as almost the wall for T. Gabo there. I think he might have actually hit it. As we go on board with Oscar Folstad, Revo has taken 4th position, as into the pits comes T. Gabo. Daniel Bogdasarov going in pretty deep. It's out of the race. Has gone Oscar Folstad. And we are on board with the Season 17 champion. Revo is officially the Season 17 champion because Oscar Folstad is out of the London E-Prix. And on lap 12 of 18, hearts sink at McLaren TGR. And they rise in Hyperdrive Racing's pit boxes as we go on board with Oscar Folstad to see what's happened here. So he comes into Club Corner, and it's the exact same incident as UK Balls. He's just It's gone in way too deep. We go back racing. We have gone back racing already. There is only one McLaren TGR car here, so it looks very unlikely that McLaren TGR are going to hold on to the championship lead. As it would stand, Virgin Renault Racing would take the championship, the World Constructors Championship. But it is official. Revo is your season 17 champion, and he didn't even need to finish the race this time to have it be confirmed. He's really good at winning championships in a semi-anticlimactic way. Last season he won it before the final round, so we headed into Manila as out goes Daniel Bogdasarov. Bogdasarov for Virgin Renault Racing, also out on lap 12. So that's another fear for a title as Revo comes into the pits. He's going to come in for medium tyres. With 5 to the checkered flag, I think he'll be able to make it to the end of the race. P. Sierra is currently going to inherit third position. Back in Season 2, when he was driving for Virgin Racing, his teammate was Catfish, and he took his first ever career victory at this very circuit. Sierra comes into pit lane, so his teammate Santino Milan will take third place instead of him. Leo coming through that chicane then. And we've only got 5 more laps here in London, in the United Kingdom. Coming very close to the wall still. These laps come thick and fast as out of the Prix goes Michael Novikov. Next EV Neo. For their final season, I am very sure that they would have expected a lot more, but as the new British management comes in from Sims Motorsport to take over that Chinese team, it was originally going to be Kiro Raceco, but Sims Motorsport at the last minute snapped up all of the assets, so Kiro Raceco will not join the grid. But T Gabo is leading this E-Prix from Revo and Santino Milan. It is an Italian 1-2 currently here in London, and it is a British manufacturer 1-2 here in London, so of course the British fans going wild as usual. With 4 laps to go though, Revo, he's not close enough to even try and close in on T Gabo currently. To close in on T Gabo as we come to that part of the track, as out of the race goes David Camino. Virtual safety car is out now for the Romanian driver and Braun GP at their home race, where it looked like they could have won. They will not score points here today. I was going to touch upon how I forgot what I was actually going to touch upon, sorry, but Revo currently second. I remember now, he's 16 seconds away from race leader T Gabo. He would need to catch up 4 seconds a lap to try and even get on the gearbox of him when we get to the final lap. We've still got yellows in the third sector, and that's for that's for Tommy, who's gone off once again at the final chicane. Many drivers have gone off here in recent races around this track. An Octavia looks to be about to get lapped by T Gabo. Jack Carter setting a fastest first sector of anyone, as that's the wall for the Hong Kong driver. And almost hitting the side of him. There's still front wing debris down there. But still, on this 14th lap here in London, Gabo leading the way. Now onto lap 15 with 3 laps to go. We look to Revo, and he's being chased by Santino Milan as he comes through that final turn. This could be very close. This could be a fight for second that lasts to the end of the E-Prix. As we look, we're still looking at that fight for second, looking behind, and as we now look to Akari Lopez, yellow flags in the third sector. That is for P. Sierra, who looks to have hit the wall somewhat harder into the wall has gone Akari Lopez, as his longtime friend and rival Sebastian Ocampo coming up to that tip, but through that same turn, and very big shunt for Leo. Yellows there and in the wall. Same for Marcus Nelson, who's also in that barrier. Comes back onto the track a lot safer. Bastian Tan coming to the scene of the incident and also into the wall. 3 cars hitting the wall very hard there. Make that 4, because that's iWorld who's gone off as well. We've got green flags flying there, but now Tommy into the wall as well. We've got massive shunts going through there. Gabo has lapped an RQE, thankfully for all of us. So there won't be any big contact between two cars there. But out of the race has gone T Gabo! And that is it for T Gabo and for Virgin Racing. And with McLaren TGR looking to only be in 12th with their other driver out of the race, Hyperdrive Racing are looking to take both the constructors and drivers titles here in London. Can you believe it? With only 2 more laps left to go before we hit the final lap here in London, it's going to end like this. Nissan Nismo, who had a constructors championship and a drivers championship won here back in season 10, are currently looking for one of their best results of the season, a 2-3 Milan. Then Sierra Jack Carter looking for a P4 today, and that is one top 4 that you definitely did not want to miss. And I think Carter could actually close in. Ocampo comes into pit lane, then he had presumably front wing damage, but with 2 laps left in the C3, and that is Daf Sanchez trying to close in on Marcus Nelson. Bastian Tan coming through that chicane and getting a track limits warning. You really have to see those warnings in this race. But of course, when they happen, they can be absolutely detrimental to your E3. Slow-moving Ocampo coming out of the pits. Of course, he had less momentum than Bastian Tan behind him. So Bastian Tan currently 8th, and he's going to get 4 points for McLaren TGR. Only 4 compared to the 26 and the 12, the 38 points that this team, Hyperdrive Racing, are going to get. So on to the penultimate lap of the London E3 we go. Revo leading the way from Santino Milan and P. Sierra. We're on board with man currently 4th in the E3, Jack Carter, who effectively has pretty much a free pit stop because Akari is not actually that much of a threat because he is currently 5th, but behind Akari is effectively just free air. So Hyperdrive Racing could peel in, and yes, they do call in Jack Carter into pit lane on lap 17. Akari Lopez also into the pit, so it's Marcus Nelson and Sanchez who are still fighting over 6th position. As it would stand, Nelson would either way get 6th here, very deep into that chicane. But Bastian Tan can't hold off Ocampo for that much longer. They go side by side, coming through the final turn, but he's still just about ahead of the Andretti man, but for how much longer? Not much longer, as Ocampo up into 7th. Akari has come out of the pit in 9th position. Carter came out of the pits in 6th, so of course he didn't have that much free air. However, the man who currently leads the C3 Revo on this penultimate lap, he's on the precipice of glory, not just for himself, but for his team. Hyperdrive Racing, this is their last season in the championship, as we now go on to the final lap here in London, United Kingdom. Revo leading the way, as it has been for a while. An RQE drops to last position, but for Revo, he's currently facing a 2nd consecutive World Drivers' Championship and his team's 2nd ever Constructors' Championship. Their first Constructors' Championship came in Season 12, and they haven't seen Constructors' glory ever since. They are both going for their 2nd title. And for Hyperdrive Racing's final race, a 1-6 with a Constructors' Championship on the line is not the worst thing in the world. Marcus Nelson going in very deep. He's got Jack Carter right behind him. Carter could actually try and take P4 here today if he can just get past Marcus Nelson. He is past Marcus Nelson. If he can just keep in that gap with Daf Sanchez now, that will be 4th position for him. But as we look now to Leo, now to the man who leads the C3. I don't think he's ever won in London, but his team certainly hasn't either. He comes to the final chicane. Revo comes to the line, sees the checkered flag, and for the 2nd time in his career, Revo is a Formula E Monoposto Championship winner. His team is a Constructors Champion. Santino Milan has hit the wall, and Revo has won the London Prix. Santino Milan sees the checkered flag after having a clumsy exit through that final chicane. He comes home with a P2. Give it up for both Nissan Nismo drivers. It's into the wall goes P Sierra there. A big error for P Sierra coming through that chicane. He comes back onto the track, losing no ground effectively. Yes, we're in the third sector, but P Sierra does come home with a P3 at the end of the day. So it's a 2-3 for Nissan Nismo as Jack Carter is fourth on the road. It's going to be fifth on the road, sorry. But if he can just try and close in on Jack Carter on a Daf Sanchez coming to the line, it'll be fourth in classification. Ocampo is going to be fifth. Then it's Daf Sanchez, Akari, Marcus Nelson, Bastien Tan, and Leo, the top 10. Then it's Cosmos and Iwell, the 12 finishers on the lead lap, with Yui and Tommy outside of the lead lap. As this is the podium, Revo has won the London Prix from Santino Milan and P Sierra. It's been a brilliant season, and this time out, it's been absolute cinema for a lot of the time, as we now hear the drivers' and constructors' national anthems. So it's Revo who wins the London Prix from Santino Milan and P Sierra. Jack Carter coming home with a P4 from Sebastian Ocampo and Akari Lopez. And it's Marcus Nelson and Daf Sanchez making up the top 8 here today in London. Then Bastien Tan is 9th from Leo and Iworld. Cosmos is 12th, not making up the last of the drivers who finished on the lead lap. Anok, Huey and Tommy did finish, but off the lead lap. Your non-finishers were T. Gabo, David Camino, Daniel Baltasarov, Michael Novikov, Oscar Folstad, Cable, Loris Leclerc, and Milrez. In the driver's standings, Revo is your season 17 champion from Oscar Folstad and Daniel Baltasarov, then Sebastian Tan, T. Gabo, Cable, Akari Lopez, and Marcus Nelson on 91 points, the first driver outside of the 100-point range. Then it's Jack Carter with a pretty good debut season. He finished 9th from Santino Milan and Sebastian Ocampo. Then it's Leo, Iworld, Milrez, Daf Sanchez, and P Sierra, the top 16. Outside of that, you've got Cosmos, Loris Leclerc, David Camino, Anok, Yuri, Tommy, and Michael Novikov. In the Constructors' Championship, Hyperdrive Racing are your Constructors' Champions from McLaren TGR and Virgin Renault. Then it's Aurelio Pinnacle and App Sportsline somehow managing a P5 in the Constructors. Then it's Braun Honda GP just outside of the top 5. Nissan Nismo, DS Andretti, Mercedes Formula E Team, Mahindra, and Next EV Neo. Well, we've had a magnificent season, and we hope that you join us next time when the FDMC and Formula G Series return for seasons 18 and 1 respectively.